And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky came to White House to make a case for getting more long-range weapons, but U.S. President Donald Trump seemed to pour cold water on Kyiv's push for Tomahawk and other missiles, instead telling him to make a deal with Russia.
So we're going to be talking about Tomahawks, and would much rather have them not need Tomahawks, would much rather have the war be over, to be honest, because, you know, we're in it to get the war over. We're selling a lot of different types of weapon, as you know, to the European Union. We're not in it for that. We're in it to get it over.
After the meeting with Zelensky at the White House, Trump said on social media that he told the Ukrainian leader that it is time to stop the killing and make a deal. Trump also appeared to suggest both sides should accept their current front lines. The U.S. president, as recently as last month, said that he believed Ukraine could take back all its territory. But a day after agreeing to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin for a new summit, he had changed his tune.
I met with President Zelensky, as you know, today, and we had a very good meeting, very cordial meeting. In my opinion, they should stop the war immediately. You go by the battle line wherever it is, otherwise it's too complicated. You'll never be able to figure it out. You stop at the battle line, and both sides should go home, go to their families, stop the killing, and that should be it. Stop right now at the battle line. I told that to President Zelensky. I told it to President Putin. Thank you very much, everybody.
Now, Trump has appeared far more upbeat about the prospects of a deal since his 2.5-hour call with Putin on Thursday, in which they agreed to meet in Budapest. Trump added that he believed Putin wants to end the war.
Well, let's see what happens. I mean, you know, what if? I think he will. I think that President Putin wants to end the war, or it wouldn't be talking this way. I think he wants to end the war. I spoke to him yesterday for 2.5 hours. We went through a lot of details. He wants to get it ended. I think that President Zelensky wants to get it ended. Now we have to get it done.
First of all, I think we need to sit and speak. The second point, we need ceasefire. Even now, you see in the Middle East, it's very difficult to hold ceasefire. Everywhere, in every war, it's very difficult. We want peace. Putin doesn't want. That's why we need pressure on him. We will speak with President today what we need.
Zelensky said after the meeting that Russia was afraid of the U.S.-made long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles, but that he was realistic about receiving the weapons from Washington. He told reporters that while he and Trump talked about long-range weapons, they decided that we shouldn't speak about it because the United States does not want escalation.
I think that Russians are afraid about Tomahawks, really afraid, because it's a strong weapon. And they know what we have, what kind of weapon we have, our production. And they understand that combination with Tomahawks, because we speak about it. We don't speak about Tomahawks like Tomahawks. We need combination. And that's why they're afraid of this combination. They understand what we can do.
Leaving today, are you more or less optimistic that you are going to get those Tomahawks?
I'm realistic.
That's not a yes or no.
Zelensky said he would be ready to swap thousands of Ukrainian drones in exchange for Tomahawks. Zelensky came to Washington hoping to capitalize on Trump's growing frustration with Putin after a summit in Alaska failed to produce a breakthrough. But the Ukraine left empty-handed as Trump eyes a fresh diplomatic breakthrough on the back of last week's Gaza peace deal. All right, to discuss more, we're now being joined by Bishop Garrison from Virginia. He is a former senior advisor to the Secretary of Defense and current senior fellow at the National Security Institute at George Mason University Law School. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Now, President Donald Trump has told Zelensky to make a deal with Russia, and there seems to be no talks of Tomahawk missiles so far. It doesn't seem like U.S. wants to give the missiles to Ukraine. What options do Ukraine have then?
Sorry, I think the signal went out there for a second. Just in terms of first of all, thanks for having me. Just in terms of the discussions on Tomahawk missiles, this is something that's going to continue to come up. There is no single magic bullet when it comes to these types of weapons and this type of elongated war. I think President Zelensky understands that. He mentioned that he's willing to give up all types of drones and other pieces to get this new type of weaponry, but understands that it's going to take the continued resilience in order for them to really be able to push back Russia at this point. On the other side of the coin, you have President Putin, who understands that continuing this atrocity, this war that Russia started, this invasion, is only going to continue to damage his power at home, to continue to damage his economy through the multitude of sanctions that Russia has received, and is going to continue to be the quagmire that it's become for him. It's becoming an albatross for the Russian government. So they're going to have to find a way to move forward from this.
Absolutely, and that's a very important point you pointed out there. Now Trump and Putin are to meet again. Well, their first Alaska meeting did not yield anything. Do you think this time will be any different?
Time will tell. I know that, and we've seen it here in your views, just saw that President Trump seems very motivated in order to bring about another ceasefire, to bring about some halt to the ongoing conflict here. We see that he's continuing to fight hard to get that out of the Israeli-Hamas conflict. I think he believes that he has an opportunity to do something similarly here. But the issue is here that it is not in Putin's best interest either to stop his hostilities or to continue them. It's kind of a catch-22 here. So it's going to be interesting to see what type of agreement Putin is willing to sign. He's already pushed forward things that are just not going to work for the Ukrainian government. When you talk about absolute forbidding the entry of Ukraine, into NATO or into the European Union, when you talk about ensuring that Ukraine doesn't have continued military aid from Western countries, these are things that Ukraine is just not going to accept. So the question is, what kind of agreement is Putin willing to give up at this point?
Absolutely. And on that point, because, of course, land acquisition, of course, is another point. Now, Trump also appeared to suggest both sides should accept their current front lines. Considering this, where do the peace deals stand, and what does Ukraine have to say on that? I'm sure they will be talking about land concessions. So is Trump denying that possibility, which he definitely was supporting Ukraine earlier?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's yet another concession that the Ukrainian government is not going to be able to accept. When you look back at this war, it really began with the illegal invasion of Crimea and holding of that land. They continue to see the Crimean Peninsula as a part of Ukraine, as they should, and they want it back. They want back any and all of the territory that Russia has illegally invaded. So saying that we can just draw a magical line and call it a day, that's something that's not going to work here. I do believe what potentially this administration sees is an opportunity to begin the conversation here, understanding that it is not going to be a part of the ultimate reality, but you have to start bringing the two sides together at some point and trying to push forward this type of conversation. And I think that's what we're ultimately going to see. But the land concession is a piece that I don't think is ultimately going to work for the Ukrainian government.
Right, and if at all is just a possibility, of course, we're hoping for everything that positive comes out of the talks, but if at all the talks do not gain any result, is there a possibility that U.S. Might give the long-range weapons to Ukraine?
I think the Trump administration and President Trump continue to hold the door open on that one. It doesn't seem as though it's completely closed. It also doesn't seem as though it is something that he's ultimately wanting to push forward with immediately. He's looking for other avenues of approach when it comes to resolving this conflict. And listen, I think the EU, the European nations, also want to find other ways of ending the conflict and supporting Ukraine that don't involve any continued loss of life or damage to critical infrastructure or any perpetuating of additional atrocities that we've seen thus far. So I think it's in everyone's best interest to find a way to resolve this peacefully. And it is true that if the United States were to give Ukraine Tomahawk missiles, it's only going to further the conflict to this point. As I said, it's about more than just any single weapon system. It's going to take a totality of weapon systems and tactics, and in some places even maybe a little luck in order to really resolve this. So anything we can do to resolve it peacefully is a path we want to try to take.
Absolutely. Well, of course, we'll be looking forward for anything that positive comes out of this whole talks. But thank you so much for joining us on the show and giving your insights on this. That was Bishop Garrison from Virginia joining us on the broadcast.